Make sure it's live. It should show up right here. I think we're already live as soon as I hit that.
Cool.
Hello, world.
Hey, guys.
So, is it... why do I see nothing there? That's always a puzzle. I want to know if it's live, but I have to wait for a split second. So I end up with this 4 seconds of stupid
Delay, right?
delay. So, welcome to Vlog Thursday number 242, and in the flesh. We've only ever talked before. We've been talking all day, so I'm a
Twitter
little hoarse. Yeah, Twitter friends. Maybe try replacing it with ones and zeros. I'm trying to read all the stuff here. Good luck. This is going to be good. We don't know that it's going to be good. Thank you for setting the bar really high. Riley's like, how do we do live streams? I'm like,
just do it, man.
we press the button and we talk to the camera, and kind of fun. So for those of you that don't know, Reilly Chase is the owner of HostiFi, and we didn't even plan. I was like, we did a video where we did plan to talk about his milestone of hitting $1 million annual revenue. So that's an upcoming video that I need to edit. But I was like, hey, what are you doing at 4 o'clock? And then, or 4:15. And then next thing you know, he's like, I don't know, I got a dot going. I'm like, perfect, let's do a live stream together. There's no script and no plan for this. It's just like special guest Reilly, because Tom didn't think of anything else. And Riley's here. We've been actually, you've been over to the island with me. We took a little.
It's been a lot of
around.
fun.
Yeah.
It was my first time in a Tesla, and
What do you think of the Tesla?
it was amazing, and it was even better than I expected. So
You can't wait for yours to get here.
yeah, I can't. Yeah, 2029 or whatever.
Are you going to get a Model 3 in the meantime?
I might have to get a Model 3 in the meantime because I really want one now.
Yeah. Look, they're just fun.
They were so much fun. I can't believe. I've read the reviews about how fast they go 0 to 60 and what it feels like and how it's different and everything, but you can't really
reading how fast it launches versus actually going, whoa.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It was actually kind of fun. So we went for a ride. We've been doing fun stuff today. Today's not been the best day for productivity for Tom, but it's been a fun day. We've just had some great conversation and talking business and things like that. I do want to, and actually what I did accomplish this morning was me and Brett, we did record a video that also has to be edited about the worst wiring job ever. And we were explaining that to Reilly, kind of what went wrong, what happened. And but the business camaraderie and talking is always a lot of fun. And part of the reason he came down here, there's something as cool as this, talking to him on Twitter, it's even more fun in person.
Yeah.
And seeing what Tom does here, what happens, and the people that actually do work here while I goof off and make content. So all of that, he got to meet some of this, most of all the staff that works internally here. So that's been kind of fun. See behind the scenes of projects that we got going on. A lot of hard drives.
Yeah.
There's a lot of storage on the other side of this wall right now. We have just more and more terabytes and more on the way. So that's it's been kind of fun. Oh, the Unify outage. So what happened there?
Oh, people are asking about that?
Yeah, I seen someone said it was quite aggravating yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of support tickets because apparently some of our customers are still accessing their HostiFi server through Ubiquity's portal. So HostiFi wasn't down, Ubiquity was down, and yeah, that's why you should use HostiFi and go directly to your server. If you don't use HostiFi, do direct access to your server via VPN or public internet access, but that's how you can avoid that.
Do you know that guy?
Oh yeah, thanks, Safwan.
Hey, thank you very much for your donation. It's much appreciated. So
one of our technical support engineers.
Yeah. So we it was funny because while Reilly was here, one of the other clients that uses Reilly called us for tech support. So it was kind of behind the scenes. It's all going, oh yeah, that's right. They use HostiFi, they use us. They didn't call about anything UniFi related. It was because of working on an active engagement with them on a project. One of our network engineers, is redesigning some networks for them with some pfSense. So as much as he likes, I think Reilly said, good, that'll solve some of the problems we have with their routers.
Oh yeah, switching from the USGs to the pfSense, I'm always in support of that.
Yeah, the USG is, someone told me to quit bashing on it. What is the guy how many USGs roughly are in your account? You have better insight on this. This is something we...
Okay, so I don't keep track of that, but we have 195,000 Ubiquity devices total connected to 1900 servers, but I don't. I want to actually find out more about how many devices are connected.
195,000.
Yeah.
So Reilly has a little bit of insight. So the guy who's managing 195,000 devices is saying also, hey, don't use the USG. It's not just Tom saying that.
Yeah.
And I have it on good authority that you shouldn't really. They're not great. They're not really anything more. Will I say they're better than the Linksys router you could buy from Best Buy? Are they better than whatever garbage your ISP provided you? A little.
Let's give them a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
If you just need to connect to the internet and that's all you need to do, you don't need a VPN and you don't need content filtering, or like you have really low throughput requirements.
Get a USG.
You have not very many clients. Get a USG Pro. I still wouldn't recommend the USG.
Yeah, USG Pro, honestly.
USG 3 for anything,
but for the price you pay, the price you spend on a Pro, you really could go with
a PFSense. Yeah,
a PFSense. It's like they're not. Yeah, they're
people
not
do want
great.
the ease of management, which I mean, ideally Ubiquiti would make a good router.
And the problem comes into the pretty dashboards they have are cool, but the functionality is not there, and it's not actionable intelligence. It's not like it's really just a pretty marketing dashboard that comes with their routers. Like, hey, look, you used 8 gigs of data on this category,
but you don't know who used it or what time frame, or that's the biggest complaint too. Is like just for my home network, I want to know where our bandwidth went, because we actually have a bandwidth cap, and you can't drill into a time series of like who used how much bandwidth this month. The way it does the statistics is it's per client per session, and it functionally doesn't make any sense, but visually it looks really cool.
Yeah, and these are some of the
little things that get you.
This is that actionable intelligence that we talk about, and me just being a very realistic. Matter of fact, we were talking about how the some of these NOCs work and things like that. The network operation centers with pew pew maps, because it makes the client excited, like you're doing something.
Mission control with the map, the world of all
like
the dots on
you
it.
You overbuild it to look cool, but when it comes to actionable intelligence. Unless you're pitching to someone like that, it's not, because Reilly noticed the lack of a giant dashboard here.
Where's the mission control center?
Where's Mission Control Center at Tom's place? Oh, wait, he doesn't have one because he's not walking people through to brag about all the time. I just make YouTube videos to get people's attention.
I mean, we're the same way. We're managing and monitoring over 1,900 VPS instances, and we use Zabbix for that. But it's nothing fancy. It shows the alerts, and our team looks into it. And it's really cool. It's very functional, but it doesn't look cool or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't look cool. Someone did ask WatchGuard or PFSense. Honestly, I haven't functionally dealt with WatchGuard in a long time. We've ripped a lot of them out. They're an old firewall. The old ones, and the management was horrible with that stupid Windows utility. I think they don't use that Windows utility anymore, but I don't know enough about current WatchGuard to tell you how good they are. I'm still a bigger PFSense fan than I am WatchGuard. I can tell you that. So for those of you that ask WatchGuard versus PFSense, not a WatchGuard fan. I don't use it actively. We have 0 clients deployed with it, so can't really answer that. UniFi VPNs are brutal. Yep, that's fair enough. And that's Cody over at Mac Telecom Networks.
Yep, he knows a thing or two also.
Yeah, he does. He's got a good channel. If you aren't subscribed to Mac Telecom Networks, he's been doing a whole series of UniFi videos.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of stuff lately.
Yeah, it's tough because I want to do. Someone's like, you haven't done much UniFi content, Tom. I know. I've been working on. I jump around between storage servers. I jump around between PFSense videos or whatever else. And lately, it's been storage and hypervisors. Reilly got to see some of the super servers we have here from Supermicro. The flash arrays, the NVMe arrays. Wendell just did a video on XCP-NG. Me and Wendell have been talking. He gave me a shout out in that video, but I want to actively engage with him to make a couple more XCP-NG videos. And by the way, I'm the one creating all the content, so I haven't found someone else who, hey, while I'm doing this, can you do that type thing? That's a scalability, is hard, but scalability as a content creator, Linus Tech Tics figured it out. I can't name the second guy.
Yeah.
I mean, even KBHD, who's pretty big, it's still him. He's got a production team behind him. Or what's that other guy, Lou, who does a lot of the phone reviews and stuff like that. He's got a production team, but it's still he's the content creator.
Right. There's only one of you.
Yeah, Jerry Rig everything. Yeah, only one Tom. Jerry Rig everything. I watch some of his videos. I love that he breaks phones and stuff like that. But same thing. He's got some help probably in the back end, but it's him doing the content creation, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Your video seems really dark.
We got a lot of light in here. I don't know how it would be dark.
It looks decent there, but we can.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I know what's wrong. I can fix that pretty easily. I fixed it in post when we did our video, but I probably have the ISO. There. Now we're brighter. It's a studio camera. So when you use studio cameras, for those of you who don't know, everything's manual on that. Everything. Like it is.
Oh, I see.
Every control on that camera. It's kind of cool what you're looking at. Well, he didn't see it as a camera at first. He's like, "What is that?" It's like a black box.
Oh yeah, we're looking at a.
Because it's got a
piece of glass
teleprompter
right now.
Yep, it's got a teleprompter on it, and I show him how the teleprompter works and things like that.
It's really cool.
Dodgy Apple TV. Thoughts on equipment shortage? The equipment shortage sucks. Oh, Randall Sparks, thank you for the donation. What's your favorite Unify PoE switch? Do you have a favorite?
I think they're great. I mean, you just look at. I mean, there's only.
The Gen 2s are...
Yeah, the Gen 2s are great, and it's either do you get the Pro or not is kind of the question, I guess, and I just feel like for most people you don't need the Pro unless you want, what is it, redundant power, and
yeah, that's not good. Don't bother with that.
I wouldn't do it for the Layer 3 feature. So yeah, for me, I think, just getting the Gen 2 non-Pros are great unless you have a specific need for the Pro, but I think they're great switches. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, the Gen 2s are better than the Gen 1s because of the way the cooling works on them. We have had a absolute few ever fail. We've only ever had, I think, a single Gen 1 fail, which is pretty... The amount of Unify we install for clients and how many failures we've seen has been outstanding.
On both Gen 1 and Gen 2.
Yeah, Gen 1 and Gen 2s. We've seen one or two, but they failed right away. Like, we installed one, failed within 2 months. And we had one other one fail. I can't remember where it was. Same thing, failed relatively as soon as we started playing with it. It was like, this didn't work. I think it didn't make it out of here.
Yeah.
But the ones that have been in the field for years, one of them's we have a series of them in shipping containers because...
manufacturing area?
No, it's actually a place that cut up shipping containers and made them bars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's over in Detroit. It's really cool. It's part of the Detroit City Football Club. We did all of their Wi-Fi outdoor and everything else. Cool. It's a really cool project. I should do a video on it because I am allowed to talk about them on social media, so I mentioned her name. We did all the Wi-Fi there. That's a project that we did originally in 2017, and we've added on to it several times all the way here to 2021. And all the original Unify equipment, even the stuff that's technically reaching end of life, is still working perfectly fine. And it's mounted in shipping containers that have no climate control. So they cut the front of a shipping container, turn it into a bar, and we mount them to the back walls of that bar because there's no a shipping container. Think of it. It's just an open space. They built no walls inside of it. So they're just mounted up high. So humidity, heat, whatever, they have survived it. Especially the heat. When they're just baking down in the sun, there's no air conditioning in those things. And the switches have held up. I mean, I warned them like this, keep a fan going, guys. Like, this gets hot in here just for your staff. And but no issues with it. So I've been really happy overall with all the Unify switches. The low rate of failure of their access points and their switches. I commented that there was a one of the specific jobs, because it was a single job that had like 312 access points installed. They've only had one fail, and that job was from 2018.
Nice.
One. That's it. And I think a refirmware flash fixed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We don't know why it went crazy. They replaced it, but then they reflashed the firmware, and I think they said they got it working again. So...
But yeah, that stuff's really reliable. I mean, in general, across the board.
It goes overall to the...
I can't think of a product that Ubiquiti made that wasn't...
it also goes overall. So I've worked in tech now since my first tech job was 1995. So it's like 26 years. In the early days, in the olden days, power supply failures, super common. Failures of capacitors, failures of circuitry itself was a more common problem. Over the last 25 years, we just got better at manufacturing shit. Like, we build things better now.
That's cool.
We build things more reliable. We build them smaller. We build them with more integrated circuits, as opposed to, if you look at an old motherboard, you'll notice there's a ton of little chips on there. Every time you have a solder joint with a little chip, you have a potential for a solder joint to go bad, for a connection to break. You look at how few chips and how much better the manufacturing process has innovated over 26 years, things are just more reliable. it's just kind of like where things have become now. So
kind of what you said about stuff when it does fail, usually fails relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Some companies I worked for before, as like standard operating procedure, we would turn everything on and burn it in, what's called burn in. You
Yep.
just leave it running for a couple days before you install it, and if there is a hardware failure, you're usually going to catch it in the first couple days that it's sitting there running. Doesn't have to be in use, just powered on, and it's either going to fail or not fail.
And
First couple days.
there's at least a few people in here that know what RLL and MFM drives are. So your the run length limited drives, and when you have to set those up, this is where SpinRite came from with Steve Gibson. You had to spend so much time writing those sectors out and testing these drives. The drive systems had so much error correction because they were so bad at it. I love when Wendell breaks down some of the hard drives. He goes, "We've now built this Rube Goldberg machine that's almost amazing that it works. We're counting atoms between the head flying over a 7,000 RPM platter that's floating. That, of course, the high-end drives now are filled with helium to get the head closer without creating friction, and it works and reads data, and it's like insane." Let's see. Oh, so Corey's actually works in the commercial industry too. Corey Thompson, and he says, "I've had a number of UniFi APs I've needed to forget and factory reset. Fortunately, still works on them, so not running around. Yeah, readopt to get them to work over the years. It's a weird. We've reflashed. We did this remotely. We had a switch that was misbehaving. I remember we don't know what caused it. It was actually the client contacted us for support, and I'm like, I don't know. Unadopt, readopt. That didn't fix it. Unadopt, update firmware. Readopt. Hey, look, it's magic. It works. The weird thing is we could reboot it and keep talking to it. It just didn't function. Like, I can't remember if it was a VLAN problem. Like, it wouldn't assign things to the ports. It wouldn't work. But reflashing it, magic, it worked. So
most of the stuff's remotely fixable too. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
With UniFi stuff, as long as you can ping it, we can usually fix it.
Yeah, that's probably the huge thing on there. Now, the video that's coming out, we'll give you a sneak preview. This is the other thing me and Reilly were talking about. Where did I set it to Brett? Should be, there we go. I'll drag this over. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and it's when everything goes wrong. It's gonna be a breakdown. This is a fun video of a big wiring project we did, and why there's so much wire all over the ground, scattered everywhere. And
what a mess.
This is a giant mess of Cat 6A plenum that was wasted. These are just was taking pictures. I like it because Willy Wonka is staring ominously, like, really?
What happened here?
What happened? Like, look at this. And Sandy's really happy over here. Like, yay! This project was it started in 2019. It was just before, it was a pre-pandemic project, and absolute craziness that occurred. But we got it done, and this was also something I took pictures of. That's why I was up there so long. This is dust. We had to work sometimes in dust conditions and put masks on before we had to put masks on.
yeah.
And we were supposed to work while they were doing the floors and putting drywall in. There's everything about this job was crazy. I got to play on a lift, so I took a picture. I wanted to make it look like I was working. We had a lot of lifts on this job. There was a whole bunch of them. And did we drive the lifts around the go-kart track? Maybe that may have occurred. That
race them.
Yeah, you could do lift races, because if you're there when no one else is there, things might happen. Unsupervised people.
That's great.
Let's see. If UniFi would update their firmware download page. Yeah, anyways. Business talk. How do you manage and pay remote workforce? Keep up the great work. This is definitely probably more targeted at you. We talked about it, but it's in the video that we released. But go on. Right. This is a good topic that I knew.
So as far as like managing and paying, it does get complicated. So like for luckily we found this software that's really great. It's called letsdeal.com, and it's DEEL, two E's. And basically it helps us manage hiring people and making sure we comply with like their local laws and stuff. And then but yeah, it's relatively simple from like a tax perspective. They're just, all of our full-time employees are independent contractors. We don't withhold taxes or anything like that, which I think might get us in trouble in certain countries or something. So it's definitely a complicated one, but I think we're handling it correctly. But this company, Let's Deal, they're helping us with contractor agreements and making sure we're following like local laws and filings and collecting the right paperwork for onboarding employees. And when we pay them, because we have employees in India, the UK, Germany, and Ireland right now. And when we pay them in US dollars each month. It goes to directly to their bank account and gets converted to their local currency. And yeah, we haven't had any problems. It's a nice payroll system. They can like submit expenses and kind of stuff you would expect like that. So.
And you have outside accountants, right?
And yes, we do have a bookkeeping service called Pilot, and basically they look at all of our revenue and expenses, and they categorize things in QuickBooks, and then they just ask me a couple questions each month, like, was this supposed to go in this category? And they've been really great to work with, so that takes away a lot of headaches. So our books are nice and clean, and yeah, that's always a good thing. So
one of the things we do is very similar, and I've recommended this in previous business videos where people say, what do I need to start a business? I'm like, get a good accountant. Make sure you are compliant. Make sure you are following the tax law, which is very complex. It's not that it's one of those things people are like, well, I could just read the tax laws and do it. No, there's a reason. There's a reason that accountants spend as much time, not just in their initial education to get the job, so to speak, but in ongoing education, because the tax code is, it is more complicated than writing Python. So there's a lot of lines of tax code.
Yeah.
And navigating that can be tricky. So like our process here, and it's been the same for a long time, I make sure I understand where our money is coming in and out, because I just download like QAF files from our bank, and ultimately that gets lined up within a ledger, but I'm not the one who puts the numbers and submits any of them. I just give that to the accountants. I just organize it so that saves them the question asking of what's this expense for and what's that expense for. That's all I'm really doing, is labeling what I think the charges are. And if the accountant has questions on it, ask. But obviously, Reilly's doing it right, because when you're trying to pay people internationally, you could just use PayPal, but you're probably not compliant in some way if you did that. If you just sent them money, I'm sure they would be happy, but there are steps.
And we did that in the beginning too. I think it's good to not overcomplicate things before you're making the money that justifies like doing things the right way, I guess. Like now I'm an actual employee of the company, and I use gusto.com for that, or Gusto, I don't know how to say it. But they actually withhold taxes for me, and I get paid a salary, and that's like the right way to do things. But I don't think it was warranted before I made a certain amount of money, just paying myself periodically, or I was actually just transfer wise, paying my guy in India when it was just me and him. But now that we have more employees, we have more revenue, we can kind of justify doing things the right way and make sure we're following all the protocols and tax guidelines.
Yeah.
So
following all those guidelines is really important. And I always, my favorite joke is, the FBI, none of them could take down Capone. You know who took down Capone?
The IRS.
The IRS.
That's right.
They're like the most powerful agency of the
you.
three-letter agencies. That's the one you should really fear. It's not the NSA. It's It's not the FBI. It's not the CIA. It's the IRS.
That's right.
That's why we do everything we do to structure it properly. This is a good question. Do you need a cloud key to use HostiFi?
You don't need a cloud key to use HostiFi. We actually are a replacement for cloud keys, so you connect your devices directly to the one server, and that's a big benefit of the service, is you don't have to buy a cloud key for every location, and you don't have to keep that updated and connected. Yesterday, Ubiquiti had an outage, so if you were using a cloud key, you couldn't access your cloud key, but with HostiFi, you can access it directly. So there's a lot of advantages to having a self-hosted controller like HostiFi, and connecting all your devices from different locations.
Yeah, we recommend HostiFi a lot. It's an easy, simple service to use you kind of niched into the IT managed service provider space because you just moved into it easily.
It's because I worked for IT businesses before, and my use case for building HostiFi was I was an IT business owner who wanted to connect Unify devices from multiple sites to one server instead of, like, when I looked at this Unify stuff, I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would I buy a cloud key for every site when they give away the software and I can cloud host it? And so immediately I saw the use case for it, but then I went through kind of the struggle of, okay, now I got to figure out how to install this on a Linux server and keep it updated. How do I install an SSL cert? And there wasn't very many guides out there. Tom's made some guides now.
Yeah.
But this was many years before that, and there wasn't very many guides on it. And so, yeah, now we kind of like made that process easier, and now it's kind of beyond that. We provide support, and there's different components to it. But yeah, the IT service part of it was because that was kind of my own scratch your own itch kind of thing. It was kind of a problem that I ran into as an IT service business owner.
Yeah, and here he is today, doing quite well with it. So
yeah,
living the dream, man. Someone said, and I've done a review of this before. The Pi signage is definitely a great product. You ever use it?
No, I think I've seen your video on it though. It's really cool.
Yeah,
a lot of use cases for that.
Yeah, using Raspberry Pis to do signage. The one business consulting thing we did with it was a company that has a series of manufacturing plants around the U.S. and they send their safety notices over it. They wanted to have one central way to change all the screens and all the lunchrooms,
like
and all
tornado or something.
More like don't stick your hand in a machine notices.
Oh, okay.
Like
gotcha.
OSHA stuff. OSHA has to have compliance, and it turns out it's cheaper to put TVs than mail and tell everyone to stick stickers on the board and things like that. So notices, production things, they send them out there. But it's a lot of like don't stick your hand in the machine, safety reminder stuff. Like
yeah.
If you've ever been inside of manufacturing.
So how is that at scale? Are you actually using Raspberry Pis for that?
Yeah, they just it's really easy. They put Raspberry Pi in the back of all these TVs, and
cool.
then
those are reliable though? Or?
Oh yeah, very.
Oh, okay, cool.
Very reliable, and they just have TVs at all their different plant locations, and they all call to the Pi signage server in the cloud. You can buy it.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so they go into the Pi signage server and they go, all right, this week's safety notice is don't put your finger in that machine.
It pushes it out to all the TVs.
And it pushes it out, so that way there's a common message. We've seen some other places, at least I've talked to people. We didn't consult on it. We just know they were using it from messaging it. Like different businesses, so they have like a common ad that runs in all their stores. They just stick it on a TV, and it's easy from an ad standpoint because they can even contact the designer and get the designer to log into it. They just have to upload a graphic that's the right scale. So the design company, instead of having to send it to someone and send it like, hey, log in, upload, and you schedule the date when you want this graphic to show up. You can use it for menus and all kinds of fun stuff. We have a pizza place that was we talked to them about a menu. They didn't want to spend the money, but it was an easy way to do it. Just log in and change the menus on the signs. It's kind of a cool thing.
That's awesome. And it's all open source. Are they monetizing?
Yeah, it's open source, and they sell. They have a hosting
subscription thing.
Yep,
cool.
They sell subscription hosting, so you can get it for free. You can host it yourself for free, or you can use their cloud controller, if you will, their own their hosted site that lets you upload and manage it. And it has like a multi-user setup, and then you can say, do you want all the sites to be the same graphic, or do you want to individualize each one? You can customize. They got a really cool feature. It's been a while since I played with it, but you have the basic features you get for free, and it's open source, so you can actually control directly the Pi signage device, or you tie it together with their cloud thing, which is scalable and simple. It does like kind of like the Chromecast does, a little display on the screen, like a code, and you put the code in and it joins to your account.
Secure.
So you don't have to do anything. You just plug in flash image on Pi, put in Pi, get code on screen.
They made it really easy to use.
Yeah, real easy.
Awesome.
So it's pretty cool.
It's a great idea too.
Try XIABO. I don't know. I've not heard of that one. Should have given Reilly a tablet with the chat open. Oh.
Oh yeah, I can't read that far away.
Yeah. That's why I'm reading them out loud. Yodec. Yodec is another one that looked interesting. I haven't played with it. There's a handful of them out there that do this, that have options. The cool thing is now that Raspberry Pi 4 has like dual screen options.
Yeah, they just get better and better each year, right?
They get better and better each year. Brett sent me a ticket for some reason. Oh, I know what that ticket is. Cool. Awesome. Real time and what's happening down here. Oh, if you fun. So this is really fun trivia, and I gotta pull this up. This is great. So for those of you, Mycroft and the Patent Trolls, this is so funny. Now, we covered this on the Home Lab show yesterday. We covered the Mycroft, which is a open source. Oh, I just realized this is zoomed way out. Anyways, too far. Somewhere. Anyways, Mycroft and the Patent Trolls, a new book from Mycroft AI. So Mycroft AI was being sued, well, still is being sued by a patent troll. And they thought, what would be the best way to make fun of a patent troll other than the patent trolls never declare themselves patent trolls, but it turns out that the patent troll came up and is essentially extorting them, which is a problem. Like, hey, if you pay me this fee, I won't sue you. And my fee is less than litigation. They said litigate. So they're actively engaged in this. But this was part of a game they played with the person who hates when the person gets his name mentioned. I'm not going to mention your name because then it'll come after me or something. I don't know. But what the kind of bait that this is, if the person comes and says, hey, this is me, they're like, no, it never has your name. It says it's a patent troll. So are you saying you're a patent troll? He tried to enter this into evidence against it, which I thought was great. So the people at Mycroft, one, great sense of humor. And the way he says the book, he said this in there. Okay, Mycroft is now involved in 5 separate legal actions against the patent troll. So book is part of it. But he said the book is part of a fundraising mechanism, but it's actually a book that allows you to explain it to a 5-year-old or member of Congress why patent trolls are bad. That's what he said in the video, and I laughed so hard. I'm like, okay, those are interchangeable. Explain to me like I'm 5 or a member of Congress of how bad patent trolls and why they're a drain on the system. And the donations go to the EFF, I believe. Yeah, 100% of the proceeds of the book are defending open source community from export. So yes, it's directly to help people fight patent trolls as a fund on there. I thought I'd bring it up again because it's just such a cool thing I think they're doing over there. Of instead of hiding it, a lot of companies don't even talk about it because you're under gag orders and your lawyers. The first thing any lawyers can tell you, shut up.
Yeah.
That's like the first rule of any lawyer. Tell your client to shut up. Like, don't say anything. So the patent trolls are always worse than we know. We only find out about them when people like Mycroft publicly expose them and going, look, we're being chased by a patent troll. We're trying to make an open source voice system that's free and open for you to download and use. And the patent troll says no. He says, I own giving away voice. Well, why aren't you calling Google if you own voice? Oh, that's because they have better lawyers than a startup. So that's why they go after the smaller companies. But yeah, it's, let's see. Tom just did some bullet time movements. Yeah. What else do we have in here? Free, advanced, 0-tier, multi. Okay. The HostiFi. We brought that up, but
someone asked about it.
Yeah, someone that says, what happened to HostiFi?
HostiFi is now owned by Stetson Blake, and you can still go to ghostify.net and use it, but I sold the business because I was too busy with HostiFi, and I think it's been a while since I worked on it, but I sold it, can't remember when it was. It's been a while, though.
Yeah. One of the things, I think it was like last year, wasn't it, or is it this year?
I think it wasn't that long ago that I sold it, but it's been like 2 years since I stopped
since you worked on it.
But I still had customers, so like I continue to support the existing customers, but I wouldn't allow new customers to sign up.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, all right, these guys still haven't canceled. This is a viable business, but I don't want to pursue it. So and my friend offered to buy it. So
one of the problems with and ask Proton Mail how they feel about this. One of the problems with running any type of privacy oriented service to obscure things is going to be the knock on the door comes of those agencies. And this is where the IRS is probably your least of your worries. It's back to the other 3-letter agencies and compliance with them. And, you know, I tweeted, and someone said I was picking on them, but I wasn't. I tweeted that meme making fun. I think I pulled up my Twitter. I was talking about Proton VPN. For those of you that live under a rock, this is what happened. You know, we don't keep any IP logs, and the Swiss court had them turn over some IP logs that they allegedly didn't have. I mean, you can build the best service, but if you get under, if kind of a collision of things can happen where you're given the order to start logging, and you're also told you can't tell people you're logging. And by the way, we're the government, and if you'd prefer to sit in a jail cell, let us know and give us your passwords. Like, you are facing some tough challenges. So Proton Mail, which also updated their website to not say they don't take any logs, but they're in a tough position. I think they did as much transparency as possible. I'm not throwing them under the bus. I'm pointing out what happened, and it's one of those eventual things that will happen. If you end up being compelled, and this is where it's
this
scary.
Is nothing new.
This is in that my actual.
This happens again and again and again and again, and people don't get it.
This was not the first, and will not be the last time this happens. The issue is much bigger than just the Pronto Mail incident. I might dive into this because we started talking about that a little bit here. the history goes back to someone like LeVar Levinson running Alphabet and the incident he had with the NSA and the government stealings because he was the one that had Snowden's emails. So each one of these things is a compounding exponential problem of maintaining privacy and security, trying to do the right thing for the benefit of your users, but also having to operate under different jurisdictions. So it's not an easy answer. It's not like I'm throwing Proton Mail under the bus. They're just the latest one to be in the news over it. But it's not like this. The people's memory is short on these things because the LeVar Levinson case, I think, is still partially, I don't know if it's 100% settled yet, but it's a big deal what he went through turning things over. And in between, there's been so many other ones. This is, like I said, it goes back even before him on privacy VPNs and stuff like that. So yeah, had LavaBit years back. LavaBit was huge. It was around for quite a while. Using Zimbra Mail. No, I don't. I seen you mentioned it. I don't recommend people host their own mail server. I think that's, I used to be a mail server admin.
Me too.
And I don't think it's a great idea. No, it's not.
Security isn't as good. Also, Google spends all the time.
It's so much work for so little return. It's like the mail. That's at least one battle I'm not willing to fight.
Yeah, I hosted out of my apartment for years on my computer on a Linux server VPS, and I had to keep arguing with Comcast because they'd block port 25.
Yeah,
and I'd have to call and get my modem unlocked to allow port 25 that I wasn't a spammer. And then, I finally gave up on that after I went on vacation for a week and Comcast blocked my port because my modem got reset and I couldn't get email for a week because I was on vacation.
Yep. It's
such a pain.
It's a pain. It's one
and then
of those...
I found out Google is so cheap. It's like $5 a month a user. But the thing is, you can actually have all your emails. Because my biggest concern was I have like 10 different domain names, and I want to be able to have a user for each of them. I thought I was gonna have to pay for every single user, but I can have them as aliases, even though they're separate domain names. So it's so affordable. It's so cheap, and their security is so much better. So
I held on, even though I didn't recommend it. I wanted to make sure I was coming from a place of reason. So even though I was telling people not to do it, I didn't shut down my last mail server until 2018. Lawrence Systems wasn't on it. I own several other domains. They were all on it. And I just said, no, this is 2018, I think, is when I finally said, I've had enough. I wanted to see and confirm it was still that hard and still a headache to keep things off the list. And it was. It never got easier.
Yeah, the spam list. I forgot about that.
Yep. Getting yourself so you didn't get, it was just some personal email stuff I had. I have a couple not Tom domains, as I refer to them. I thought about talking about that, but then it breaks the rules of talking about that, which would be I have Online Tom, where you see me using Google Chrome, and I have Not Online Tom, who is a different version of me that is very offline and very separate for privacy reasons of that. I've always looked at, because I've been, since the dial-up days of BBS, I've been online. So I've always looked at when social media came along is very different. I always thought of anything I have online as a curated persona of what I wanted you to know. So I always think of it from that concept.
People should think about it, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't. And my son, for example, he's born in an era of social media existing where people just share things without thinking about it as much. So there's very different concepts, because my concept of anything I put online is what I want you to know about me, and if I didn't want you to know about me, it doesn't go online anywhere. So there's the offline time that even if I do put it online, it would be through a zero trust system where it's never publicly available. It's encrypted before it goes.
You have to come here to access the offline Tom and learn more about offline Tom.
Yeah, you have to meet Tom in person.
Not the character Tom plays on YouTube.
Not the character I play on YouTube. Yeah. And it's just one of those things. Matter of fact, even when I'm just browsing the internet, yes, I like Firefox for my personal, and I like Chrome for my business and everything else I have in here, because people give me crap about using Chrome, and I'm like, it's business related, so it's always in Chrome. Privacy stuff will be in other browsers if it's something that I don't want. So there's, it's a back and forth. You use Vulture, so that's cool.
I like Vulture.
Yeah, Vulture's pretty good. You're now listed at one of their. You're one of their.
Yeah, we're one of their top customers now.
How many servers do you have on there now?
We have 1,900 VPS instances.
1,900 virtual private servers.
Vulture's been very nice to us.
You're not ready to build your own data center, right?
No, I'll never build my own data center. People keep asking me, but it's one of those things where I have no interest in doing that. So as long as I can make money and having someone else do it, I don't see why I want to go and spend all that time to recoup a little bit of margin, which it's not a lot of money compared to the money we're making.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. At some point, maybe it'll make sense. Like, but
there's a threshold. There's a good write-up, and I think he did a revised edition of it. So Serve the Home. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Serve the Home, why are you watching this channel for? I mean, me and Patrick do a lot of the same videos. We cover all the same high-end hardware. Anyways, Serve the Home is pretty awesome, and he has a thing called Coming Down from the Cloud, and it was a cost analysis. But the elasticity problem is you're still in expanse mode, rapid expansion. So what would it cost you to spin up X amount of servers is a fixed price that you can predict.
Here's the thing too, is if I was to do it myself, I can't just put all of our servers in Detroit. We have customers in Asia and Europe, and they have to have their servers in Europe for compliance, and so I would have to have data centers all over the world. I'd have to be Vulture. I don't want to be Vulture. It's not my company. That's not my business. So.
Yeah, and it's the other problem, like the people at Huntress, for example, I forget, they're in the millions of endpoints that they're monitoring now. As they land bigger deals, they also need to spin up more servers to deal with the load and all that. They don't have a data center and don't plan to for the exact same reason. Like, we don't know when the next guy is going to say, hey, I have another 50,000 endpoints to monitor.
Yeah, and then what are you going to, you had to go, and there's such a huge upfront cost for that, and then...
And especially right now, because someone had asked earlier how the hardware shortage is...
These guys already have it stocked up.
The hardware shortage is extremely painful if you're in that particular mode.
Yeah.
Can you save money in the instance in the parameters given by Patrick at Serve the Home, where he rented... he still has it in a colo, but it's his own. It's still cheaper to put it in a colo versus putting it in a building your own, like building your own server room. Because getting the data pipe, like for us to get a full redundant data pipe put to this building would far exceed what I spend on the hosting fees to host things like my forums and my website. It doesn't make sense. But there is calculations for when it does, and there's calculations for when it doesn't. And if you're doing things like just mass storage, it may make sense for you to have your own colo or host some of it because you're just trying to do storage, provided you're regional, and I'm not trying to store here but provide to a region very, very far away. But even if you do have storage here, I have to have that redundancy of that storage. So there's it's not as simple as yes or no, but especially if you're in growth mode and building a SaaS company, especially when you're hoping to land that next 1,000 nodes that you want to add on there, you got to be able to easily flip the switch, and you can't flip it ahead of time because it wouldn't be profitable. But Vulture, if you needed to spin up another server tomorrow, you could.
Yep.
It wouldn't be another VPS instance on top of the 1900. Not a big deal.
So for
eventually, you're going to be a problem. Eventually, you're going to be a problem for them. You're going to outgrow them.
I don't know.
No,
we'll
okay. Or it's maybe.
I don't see myself ever wanting to get into that. It's a whole nother different business. So
no, but you just have to migrate to another data center.
Yeah.
So you have to if they couldn't handle it, you would have to.
It's such a small cost for me too compared to the overall. I mean, it's a big cost overall, but we don't pay them. We have a good rate with them now too. We don't pay list price on stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So.
And probably where your big expense is labor.
Yeah, the labor is always going to be the biggest expense. Second biggest is the servers though. So I mean, it's a big expense, but it's not enough that I'm like, oh, I'm going to go build a data center and save this 100,000 a year or whatever it is.
It's one of the things even in this business, the MSP space, when I see people, and this is when you're starting out, people go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's this much per endpoint when I'm buying the licenses for your, whatever your RMM tool, your licensing for your antivirus, your monitoring and XDR, and whatever licenses you need to support a client.
Right.
They seem like a big cost until you hire a bunch of employees and you're like, oh, Friday's payroll is way more than the entire month of all these license fees that go to the clients. Payroll is, labor is still a really high cost if you want to do it right. It's not like you're hiring minimum wage people to write code for you. Sorry, that doesn't work. That's even hiring internationally where there's favorable exchange rates where you can pay them a really good wage in their money, but it's less of our money here. It still is like you said, he's got international employees, and it's still an issue. UniFi is out of stock on all their camera. Yep, that's true. Here's a dumb problem. That's how does the chip shortage affect us? Besides all the usual, yes, we know everything's out of stock. Yes, we would love to deploy things like Wi-Fi 6. Here's Tom's first world problem. So Reilly went with me as he went riding a Tesla. he went over to the island where my son goes to school, and the bridge is a toll bridge, and I can't get a bridge pass because they're back ordered from May. Because normally you'd want a bridge pass stuck to the car.
You can drive through.
You can just drive through. They have 2 lanes, one where you pay the toll. I can't go through the pay lane because
They can't get the chip for it.
They can't get the chip. They're back ordered.
That's
So here's my
terrible.
first world problem that I have to deal with. I know
It's
you're
a
probably
big
feel
problem.
horrible for me having to drive my Tesla and roll down the window and turn it off
Disable
autopilot.
autopilot. Yeah, it's terrible.
Disable autopilot so I can stop and
To
pay a
actually
toll.
drive your car for a minute.
I'm sure you feel horrible for me, but it is a real problem. So yes, that's how the chip shortage is affecting me.
This is not new to Ubiquity though.
No.
They've had shortages long before pandemic.
There's Brett Chittiman here saying you should. I took Brett. Brett used to live over on an island. If you if you go back a while, I actually had posted on one of the vlog Thursdays like, "Hell, buy Brett's house" or something like that because Brett.
Oh yeah, I listed it.
Yeah, he listed it. It was cool. I did drone video around Brett's house.
Nice.
It was really cool. So yeah, but I did. Brett still has one from living on an island. He's not ready to give it up yet. So.
Oh, he still got his bridge pass.
Yeah, he still has a bridge pass because he still has friends over there. So
Nice.
he may have moved off the island, but still goes over there. Hey, how's it going? Let's see. He says, Reilly, how's the building the new office going? And any plans to hire from Africa?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're open to hiring in any country. So yeah. Send me a resume.
Yeah. Contact him on probably Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
Okay.
DM me on Twitter. And yeah.
Yeah, if some of you are looking for jobs,
So
just DM on Twitter. You can figure DM HostiFi, DM Reilly Chase directly. Easy to find them. It's got a lot of followers on Twitter. So
and yeah, the new building's going really good. Thanks for asking. Building an office for myself. I currently work in my house, just a room in my house, but we're building a new garage that's it's going to be like a 4-car garage on the first floor, and then the second floor is going to have a couple bedrooms, and I'm going to have a really nice office up there, and maybe a YouTube studio like Tom someday. Big aspirations to have something like this. It'd be really cool to make Unify videos and stuff. So
yeah, the studio setup here is pretty cool. So that's been kind of neat looking around, and I built it over time, but I'm always willing to share all the knowledge I have. Like, hey, don't make these mistakes. Don't buy, like, I like the studio camera, but I actually like Jay's camera better, and it's cheaper than that one. That's like a $4,000 studio camera, and Jay has some almost better quality with a lesser camera. He's actually that's the camera that Jay's using now.
Oh,
so,
cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be asking you for.
Yeah, that one's like $1,100, and I mean the quality. I think I can do full screen on that one here. Look at the quality on this camera; it's really good.
Cool.
And this has actually got face tracking, and it's automated, and it's got 4K, and
cool.
Yeah, huge difference in them. Anyways,
how much was that one?
about $1,100.
Cool.
That's just a Sony camera. The downside with Sony is the Sony. Looking, because why is my camera blinking? Looks like it's plugged in. Is it a power blink? Hold on 1 second, folks. Oh, it just says no card in it. I couldn't see what it said on the camera. And sorry about that. I'm easily distracted by things that blink. I thought it was shutting off, like it was running out of battery, just because the card's in here. But anyways, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. What was I talking about? Just
the 2 different cameras, I think.
2 different cameras. The Sony camera system
a lot cheaper.
Is cheaper, but also has one of the most horrifically bad menuing systems of all time.
Clicking through all the
Like,
menus.
whoever decided to make the menus like that on Sony is just terrible. So I deal with the terrible menu system because the quality of the cameras here.
Nice.
The menu system is like, who designed this? Like, who thought this was a good idea to do menus like this?
What's the model on that one?
That is like the A6600, I think is what it's called. Yeah, I actually, if you go to my kit links that are always in all of my links, I have my studio set up and all the different gear we use, and that Sony camera's in there. It's something you can buy on Amazon.
It's cool.
We can barely get Meraki APs. Everybody has shortages. Yes, that is a absolute true thing. We've heard a few projects being delayed, not just projects from Unify, but other vendors that normally keep, probably because of the funding and whatnot, they have a larger inventory than Unify. I've had a few people I've seen in the forums post about Meraki shortages. We're not a Meraki reseller, so I can't speak firsthand to it. But people complaining about it, going, yeah, I can't get these things. We've seen this with some of the Dell computers. We ordered Dell and Lenovo for our clients. there's some
Nothing.
wait times on that. Yeah, they're just when it comes to switches, we've been talking with, and I got to find the time to nail it down. I have a switches from Tech Supply Direct. We've used Tech Supply Direct quite a bit. They're a refurbisher of equipment, but some of the refurbishing of equipment is still brand new equipment. So what they say refurbishing is because the way some of the enterprise equipment's bought is, let's say they need 500 of something. They may buy 550 or more of that product in order to have spares. My friend, when he worked at the bank, I was shocked that they would buy like 15 or 20% over on all their computers, so they always had spares. And but they would then do the cycle of replacing all the laptops, and those brand new ones that were never opened because no one ever needed them, they would be sold as A grade, and then all the used ones would be kind of categorized in a B and C grade. And companies like Tech Supply Direct, they pull all that inventory, give them a price for it, like, we'll buy your old inventory and here's your money, and then they resell it. So right now Tech Supply Direct actually has a ton of these brand new in the box Lenovo switches. They're enterprise switches, and we're looking at doing a review because, one, people said, what do you do about the switch shortage? And I'm like, we're going to probably deploy a whole lot of these Lenovo PoE switches because it solves a problem where we have to deploy a bunch of PoE for cameras and UniFi, and I can't get enough switches for the projects.
Wow.
So there's sometimes we're going to have to go to some secondary markets for that. No, they're not going to end up in the UniFi dashboard. They don't have dashboards. They have each individual switch configured. They're not like I'm saying, this is the best one to use. I'm saying, I have a problem. Yeah. I would like to sell this job and complete this project, and the client would love all their cameras to work, but here we are. The color in studio camera is much better. Yes. Canon does amazing color science. That's why National Geographic, all the high-end photography people buy Canon cameras. Some of the high-end YouTubers buy the next level up of this camera that's actually 4K. This is the older. This model's from 2012, by the way, and still retails for like $3,000. Wow. You can't hardly find a used one for less than $2,000. And it's a 2012 camera. That's like 9 years old. But the color science on these is really, really good for Canon. That's one of the reasons I do like it. And it's got this feature. I can soft focus things really well. Cool. Yeah, I see that. It does the whole separation. It's got what they call an art lens on it. The color and autofocus is really cool. By the way, I used to be a wedding photographer. That's where I learned about.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I was a wedding photographer for a few years, so I actually know quite a bit about cameras from all that.
Wow.
I used to shoot Canon for everything. I've had a lot of jobs.
Did you ever have a GL2?
Nope. I shot with all the ones I was using were the Canon high-end ones, like the Mark II Pros. They're different SLR ones.
Oh, okay.
So
used to film skateboarding stuff with the GL2 and the fisheye.
Yeah, that was a great combination for that. Yeah, that was.
It was like a video, like physical tapes that was sucked.
Yeah, yeah. That was a long time ago.
You have to read it from a DVR to a USB, and it was.
Yeah, I knew a lot of videographers when I was in the wedding industry, but I never did video then. I only stuck with the still photography doing weddings. I was a wedding photographer back in, what years was I active in that? Probably like 2007 or 8 until...
I think the GL2 was like 2002. It was an old camera. Like,
yeah.
The one I had was so old.
Yeah, 2002 I had the Sony Mavica CD. You remember, it used to record to a CD. Oh, okay. And that was just me personally playing with it. So
that was more high tech than the GL2 with the cassette tapes in it or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Videotapes.
So I worked in enterprise IT since for a long time. I worked in corporate, but I always liked art. So I tried my hand as a wedding photographer, and I was doing that on weekends while running my business. So
nice.
I had the business in 2003, but it became kind of this fun side hustle, and I got good enough at it. I was shooting for a studio, and they would pay me about. This is back in 2003 money, 2006 money. So adjusted for inflation, I don't know what it is, but my deal was between 800 and 1,000 for every Saturday I worked.
Oh, cool.
So I was rocking out all these different Saturdays. I'm like, pay me $1,000 for 8 hours. That's not bad. And all I had to do was turn the card in when I was done. I didn't have to do any editing or processing. The studio took care of that. So I wasn't. They were booking the studio, and the studio paid me.
Cool.
So it was good money, and I liked it. I like going to high-end weddings and doing fun
awesome.
things. It was like it was weird to take time out of doing technical things, put a suit on, and be in front of a bunch of people. And a good wedding photographer, by the way, if you didn't know this, you're a good director of people. It's not just some technical acumen and making art from photos. You have to coordinate and herd a bunch of people who are not really interested in getting their photo taken. Turns out they are much more interested in drinking, the bus ride, discussing the bachelor party. Always a topic that they want to. Hey, your bachelor party, man. Can you guys hold for a photo? Dude, have you seen this guy? You know how messed up he was. Like, they want to tell me and share with me, and I'm like, this is great. I need to take your photo though. It was. I have so many stories from wedding stuff. It was fun. It was one of the things I had. I had an electronics shop. I've done a few different. I had not too far outside of tech except for wedding photography, but other technical related jobs.
To here though.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, it's all I'll say. Plans for home subscription in the future. This is something we addressed in a video.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's a tough problem. So, well, you'll see it in a video, but eventually what happened was Tom did a video. Reilly got like 1,000 people signing up.
2,000, yeah.
2,000. And it turns out all of you needed some help, which is fine, except for...
It was just me back then, and I was doing everything, and it was crazy, and then I shut it down.
Yeah.
Because it was too much. But yeah, now that we're growing our team, it's something I'd consider again. But yeah, I don't know. The thing is I hate to say it, but like as long as we can keep, building the business with customers that are willing to pay, it's hard to trade off to go back to customers that some of them are a pain in the ass. That's all. Let's just say it.
Yeah.
But
it's one of those things like
if you've ever done residential IT or something, the kind of people.
We don't do residential anymore. I used to have a residential store, and I don't anymore. Like even when I'm not the one dealing with it, the aggravation I seen in my tech guys who were dealing with it
I just want to clarify by saying some of you guys are awesome, and you're awesome free plan users, and you referred people to me. Some of you didn't refer people, but you're just awesome, and really appreciate you guys. Not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the people that like signed up and then they expect us to like hold their hand for hours, and then if we don't, they leave us a bad review, and it was free to begin with, and it was like, now we have a bad review and we spent hours helping you, and that's what we got out of it.
And this is one of those...
It's hard to weigh the good and the pros and the cons of it.
Yeah, this is why when we did the video, and I wanted to be as honest as upfront. Like, sometimes from the outside, people go, you're just a bad person. You offered it for free. It's bait and switch. You're charging me. And I'm like, no, there's business decision that had to be made. Because if you have too many free people signing up, you end up with for every person that signs up, there is a tangible server cost that he has to...
supports a bigger cost.
Yeah, it supports a bigger cost. And it's just one of those things that, look, the support costs, server costs, this is not sustainable because I don't have time to deal with the people who are paying right now. So you have to make these decisions. It's not like we're trying to bait and switch. And I bring it up because I felt bad. At the time, he had a free tier. We were both excited about it in the video. There's a lot of angry comments on that video of, Tom, you're lied and this is a bait and switch thing. So there were some unhappy people who commented on that video. That's just part of it. I've seen people get angry on things when I talked about something. There's a couple of angry comments on an Invoice Ninja video I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they give away the software for free, but they charge for hosting it. That's their business model. Someone said it's not really open source because they charge for hosting. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. But then the number of other people that commented the same, I'm like, there's a misconception some people have that server time is free.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive, but not free. So
I think it's because these big companies like AWS and Google, they have these loss leaders, and it is actually free, but doesn't mean it's actually free. Like they're losing millions of dollars, and
and they're big enough that they can really absorb the cost to drag you over there to give you something for free with the hopes of
but we're like a 5-person team. We can't.
It's hard to compete in that same stats.
Yeah, we can't do that.
You're a small MSP, but you just stopped doing residential today. Welcome. Residential is really tough. I don't know many people anymore that are really making it work. I've actually watched all these places around here close up. It's a tough gig. There's not really any competitors around here. There's very few, I should say. There's less than there used to be of residential computer stores. It's something we got out of that business a couple of years ago now. it just went downhill. There was a time it was uphill, and I made a lot of money on it. I made a lot of money fixing TVs. I had a TV electronics repair. Simultaneously, I was doing PC repair. I first started doing PC repair. I bought an electronics repair business. We got into all of it, and from 2005 till 2009, where I ran both simultaneously, it was really good. What happened in around 2008, I think it was the Thanksgiving of 2008, Black Friday, Walmart enters the room and makes TVs cost less than $1,000. Matter of fact, substantially less. Our bread and butter, fixing big screen TVs. That was where we made a lot of money. And when Walmart, and once Walmart did everybody else in online orders, TV prices dropped, our money went away, and that's it. We decided, I quickly exited out of that business. Was just like, I can't sustain this. People don't want to spend $200 and $250 fixing a TV when they can buy a new one for $800. And now look at where we are today. I'm happy I exited. I actually had someone else that wanted the customers. I was able to make a good exit out of that.
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't kill it. It was more to give it away at the end. But in the ramp up, I did make money over the years. So I knew when it was time to not invest money into it. So I didn't lose money in it. So yeah, but we kept on the retail all the way until in 2018 when we finally completely made the exit from retail. And it just got untenable. Someone says they know of two companies in Southgate. Yes, there is us, and we now refer people over to Southgate Computers.
Cool.
They're nice people. I've actually, this is full circle. Not my very first, but one of the first places I worked for a while was at Southgate Computers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so someone actually see me on here and says, did you ever work at Southgate Computers? Because someone was local, messaged me, and I'm like, yes, I worked there in 1997, 97 to 99, or maybe a little bit, that era. In the 90s, yes, I did work there. So the whole full circle of, and I still know the people there. They're like a mile from here, 2 miles from here. We're on Pennsylvania Road. If you look up Southgate Computers, you're on Eureka, and there's like a mile between us. We refer everyone over to them. They're nice people over there. What else do we got? What do people not normally understand about business? So this is actually an interesting question. And when Reilly posted that he now the business makes $1 million annual recurring revenue. Reilly does not make $1 million recurring revenue, though. Reilly directly doesn't. This is one of the reasons we run my company kind of like what we refer to as open book with a lot of the internal staff, because my staff can see big numbers come in. And me and Brett mentioned on one of the projects, like we did a wiring project for $200,000. Tom did not make $200,000 on the wiring project. There are expenses. So one of the big misconceptions, and my friend Pete Matheson did a video about this exact topic. If you look up Pete, he's got a great YouTube channel where he's starting a business channel. He sold his MSP last year. He's putting out some really cool content. But one thing, that's one of the misconceptions that I see very frequently is people think the money the business makes somehow passes directly through the owner, and it really, really doesn't. There's a lot of, you get what's left, and then what's left gets taxed, and then you have what's left. So that IRS place I mentioned earlier, yeah, they get a cut of it before I get a cut of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to discourage people on a business. I'm not saying they don't make money. I'm just saying that's a real problem of the misconception people have of the money you make, they think you make. What do you think? What's a misconception? Because now that you've reached a level of success, what was a misconception maybe you didn't know 3 years ago even?
I think a misconception is this, in particular, software as a service is a passive business, or like it's passive income. So like that actually attracted me to it. That I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have all this money that just like shows up in the mailbox every month, and I don't have to actually work for it. Even though we have customers on a recurring basis, which is a really good business model, it doesn't mean that you don't have to work for it. You're continually improving the product, helping customers, and moving forward in some capacity. Now I can definitely take time off, and it can be passive, but the reality is I'm always worried about continuing to innovate, continuing to expand, and it's not like I'm retired now or something.
Yeah, and it's not as what's your blog?
Blog.rchase.com.
There we go.
I haven't written a blog post in over a year now.
No,
it's been busy.
But I'll mention this. So first, This comes up because Ray Orsini, hey Ray, Ray runs the Tech Bar, and I've been on there before, and also runs OIT VoIP. He's just a fun person. We're gonna have Ray over on the channel pretty soon. We want to do some content together. Ray's also working on some new ideas for doing some OBS tutorials, so shout out to Ray there. But what Ray said was, it's a fun story to follow, and yes, he hasn't done a blog post in a while, but what he did do
In the beginning, I wrote
in the beginning,
every step of the way, pretty much.
Yeah, here's October 18, my first 10 customers. I really encourage, and I'll throw a link here in the, it's really simple. It's blog.rchase.com. But one of the things that I told Reilly I really regretted, I've been in business since 2003. And I don't have a blog of starting my business. I have memories of starting my business that are all jumbled together in some way, but it's much less concise. I don't journal. I should. But now I don't bother at all because I just make videos. So now I can watch my videos over the last few years, but what if I would have actually been making videos? I was actually slightly off topic, but it's kind of cool. If you go look at someone like Casey Neistat or someone even crazier like Steve O, I bring them up because they have spent
see every moment of their life.
They have been recording their life since the 90s.
Yeah.
Like they have just archives and archives. Steve O, if you're familiar with him, he's from the Jackass series and stuff like that. But he was always filming his shenanigans, and it's kind of neat to be able to go back and look at yourself in such a well-documented way. Or even, I told Reilly, he's pretty young right now at only 28. Yeah. So you're going to be able to go back even 10 years from now and still have these old blog posts go, wow, I remember when I did that. And it's kind of, I think it's kind of novel, and it reminds you where you are. It also gives people a concise story of how you got there, and it's hard work. It isn't, you always see about, you may see Reilly for the first time because you heard about him on a video where I said, hey, how do you take a SaaS company to $1 million? And then people go, man, overnight success. And like, no, read the blog posts. There was some bad decisions. There was money lost. There's some hours put in and effort. And also, like HostiFi was asked about earlier, there's things that didn't work. You try a lot of things. That you try this, you try that. Some work, some don't. You move to the next thing until you figure out what does work. So there's a lot that goes into it. So fun stuff. Some Facebook groups. I hate working for my current employer. Is not a business plan. Oh yeah. I've said that many times, and I don't even know who originally. If there's an OG person who said this, it's I hate my job is not a business plan. I've seen it repeated. I'm not the first person to say it. I definitely love the phrase because it's simple and concise. I hate my job is not a business plan. Also, let's extend that. What else isn't a business plan? I'm going to quit the company I work for and do it for $5 per user per month less.
Cheaper,
yeah. I'm just going to do the same thing but less. That's also not exactly a business plan. Mm-hmm. It may be if the company's overcharging for something, which is kind of a fuzzy, hard thing to figure out. But
you don't want to be that guy that's the cheaper guy.
It's not. You need to have an innovative twist on something, not necessarily, I'm just going to do it for less than they do. Cool, until you realize
someone comes along and does it less than you do, and then it's the only thing you have to offer.
It's the only thing you offer is you're cheaper. And when you get to be a larger company, you realize there's payroll, there's business, there's paying accountants, there's liability
margin.
Insurance, and all this other stuff. Yeah, you need a lot of margin for all that. So someone said, and this is someone who doesn't know the history of UniFi, will UniFi build a service to compete with you? No.
They did, and they failed.
They've already failed on that. They had a service, and it's now defunct. So, yeah. Offering the same price at better service, it's possible. I mean, there's some companies that think they have a lock-in. This has been a common problem. Who said, I can't remember who said, it was a great interview with someone who left one of the big companies, and they were talking about why the company lost all their market share. The context is funny because they were huge in the market and they disappeared, but what the person said was great. He said he left there because it's sometimes really, really hard to tell someone who's got a company that's doing $1 billion a year they're wrong. Tell them they're missing the point. They're going to go out of business if they don't change. Was it me that said
this about Ubiquity? Or?
Probably, yeah. But it's one of those things, like, it's really hard to tell someone really wealthy they're doing it wrong. Yeah. I think we've said this too. Me and you have had this in a private discussion too. But
it's hard to tell Ubiquity they're doing something wrong when they're
making money.
Yeah, every month they're making money.
And I've heard that, and it's so true. And this is what causes these companies. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Like, if you did this better of your customer service, you could really do better in the market. We're making this money. You see our margins last year. There's no way you're right. I made this was, yeah, but you could have made more margin. The only company kind of smart enough to make more margin year after year, at this point, it's just greed. Microsoft. I mean, if I remember their last earnings call, I think they had 130 billion cash on hand, and they're offering 20% price increases across the board across all their Office 365.
Why?
They're already this level profitable.
Wow.
And they're raising the prices. This is great, but they've been able to pull it off. They've been able to do it. They understand the market really well. They have a lot of really smart people. Of course, Microsoft's also a weird, I actually tweeted this the other day. So it was love this quote from an interview over on Risky Business when they said, Microsoft's weird in the market because sometimes there's a problem in the solution. It's not often the arsonist also owns the same person and also owns the fire department in the same space. We have this really awful way we provide security. We can upsell you on the E5 level of security to solve the problem that was created by our non-E5 level of Office. You're like, wait.
Incredible.
Yeah. Wait, your product is flawed and has insecurity. Yeah, it's completely subjected to all these flaws. But if you buy our higher end version of the product, and then pull it off. I mean, it would be absurd for someone to think that could be written down in a business plan. But here Microsoft is. And their earnings reports are really good. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Thank you guys for this talk. I want to start my own MST tech development. I'm going to really try. You know, if you can, I don't want to be a gatekeeper where I tell people not to. I just don't want people to go in and get blindsided by it. It's not for the faint of heart. And me and Reilly talked about, like, you know, hey, it's like coming out and hanging out with me or something like that. The dark side of entrepreneurship. I've got this old video you can find with me and Eric Thomas, fellow entrepreneur, local Detroit guy. Well, one of the things he talks about, he told me, I think he said it that way. He goes, I wouldn't wish entrepreneurship entrepreneurship is a disease and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And he says there's a loneliness to it because you kind of, as you grow in success, you sometimes have to change your friend circles. And that can be really problematic. It's that old, you know, adage of you're a percentage of the people you hang out with, but you also sometimes realize you have to kind of move on. You can't hang out with some of those people who spend all day hating life and crying in their beer and things like that. They're very not good for you. You also, when you own a business, it's not like you clock out at 5. You can't stop thinking about it, and it's kind of cool to be around other people. So he got to meet Brett today, and Brett, you know, among his previous things he's done, he used to own like 26 insurance agencies, stuff like that. Brett is very business minded. That's why Brett is here doing business things. Me and Brett, before Brett was here, hung out, had a beer, and talked about business. And Brett's got the same thing. He does not hang out with people who clock out at 5 and cry in their beer about how life sucks and do whatever. He's very thinking about this, thinking about strategy. And when you surround yourself about all those people, but like I said, this can be kind of challenging, and why they say there's a loneliness. If you type in loneliness and entrepreneurship, you'll find 10 million blog posts about things I'm talking about. It becomes kind of a weird challenge. It's not that you're trying to ostracize. It's not like you're trying to stick your nose up, say I'm better than those people. It's just you end up with you're trying to innovate all the time, but you end up curating a really cool friend circle. But it also is a disease because I also was, you know, I got so many things I'm doing all the time.
It never turns off.
It never turns off.
You're in the shower, you're thinking about business. You go to bed, you're thinking about business. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is really. It's really
relationships.
Oh, after you started your business, how long could you take a vacation? That's probably a good question.
Yeah, it was a long time, and as far as number of, it was. I don't know. I went before I hired my first employee. I could not take a vacation, and I remember specifically in August 2019, I tried to take a vacation, and I went to Mackinac Island, and I was trying to help customers. I was still the only person at HostiFi. I didn't have any employees yet, and I was at the campsite. We were camping on an island, and I was at the campsite with LTE connection to my laptop trying to download a backup to restore a server for a customer. And that's when I realized, like, this really sucks. Another time I was like on the ferry to Mackinac Island, and I was trying to fix code from my phone in an SSH app on my phone, fixing production code because someone tried to buy a server and it didn't work because UniFi updated the way it downloads.
Yeah.
So I literally had to fix that on a ferry to Mackinac Island. Spent the entire vacation working, family not happy with you when you do that, and it's not good on your relationships. But yeah, to answer your question, I finally was able to take vacation after I hired my first employee, Safwan, who is a great guy, and he was able to manage the customers while I was away. And today, we have a team now, so I was able to start taking short vacations when Safwan was there because he's handling all of support. But every time I was gone, nothing was getting done on like the sales side as far as like doing demos or marketing and stuff. So now we have a full-time sales guy and full-time programmer, and so now I can actually take longer vacations. And this year I took an entire month off. Very little time on the computer, no emergencies that I got pulled into or anything like that. Went all the way to California and back, and it was amazing. So yeah, but definitely I feel bad for people that are stuck in like being a one-man shop. You definitely got to hire somebody. Like, I wouldn't want anyone to stay there too long where it's just you full time. It's so hard.
Yeah. And Ray said in here, he says, business ownership equals obsession. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I also wouldn't wish it on anyone. Yep. Yeah. I hear you, Ray. And Ray knows, because I sometimes when I'm messaging Ray, he's like me, up early. Sometimes I'll see him online, up late. You're always thinking and obsessing about a lot of these things. It's hard to turn it off. I remember a post I did a number of years ago that came up my memories that made me laugh. I went and looked. You know how Facebook has a little green dot for all the people online? Mm-hmm. I think it was 1 a.m. and I was still working on something. Online. And I grabbed that list and highlighted it, blurred the names, and I posted it. And I said, all these green dots, every one of them is one of the fellow entrepreneurs that I know, like in the area and things like that. Every one of them, because they're in the important part, they're in the same time zone. They're not just working late in California. Yeah. A few hours. Like, this is 1 a.m. These people, and I was actually chatting with a few of them too, but it was like, all these people, this is what that looks like. I sometimes can't turn it off. It makes it hard for me to play video games. It is kind of a challenge. It makes it hard sometimes because I want a vacation, but I also have a hard time relaxing. And it took me a long time, like Reilly. I didn't do vacations for years. And there's a sad side of this too. I have a friend that is not doing well because after having his business for a number of years, made a few missteps and now is not in a good position. He's trying to figure out how his exit strategy is going to go, and it's not looking like he's going to get anything for what he's been doing for years either. He's just hoping to land on his feet in a good position. He's certainly not going to land in a cash position, so not a big cash position. So there's some risk with it. I mean, you're talking to people who have gotten somewhere, but it's also sometimes
survivorship bias.
Yeah, there's survivorship bias. That's for sure. You don't hear about as many. It's like the restaurants, and I've known a lot of restaurant entrepreneurs. That's a really tough business. Oh, yeah. Where you get excited when you see someone opening a whole lot of them, but boy, I've watched a lot of them. I've known personally people who are still to this day working off debt they had from starting that type of business, and they have a job now as a chef. Going, I remember when I had a restaurant, leveraged up. I'm reminded every time I make the payments on stuff that I still owe. Because you end up in the beginning, you leverage everything you have for part of the risk. So it's easier in IT because you have less assets you have to buy. But if you're an asset-based business, and restaurants are heavily asset because you have to have all the equipment, materials, you often leverage things personally to get there. So it becomes very, very challenging. So finished up some installs, fired up YouTube, and boom, these two folks. So Tony says, Tom, do you remember that time when Microsoft was trying to roll IE into Windows? What do you mean, remember when? IE is rolled into Windows. IE is finally expiring out of Windows. Steve Gibson just ranted about the Windows 11 thing, and he quoted, if you follow Windows Weekly, Mary Jo Foley. I actually had the privilege of meeting Mary Jo Foley when I was at Microsoft. And who's the other guy? I can't remember his name. They do the Windows Weekly podcast. Anyways, Mary Jo flat out told him, she's like, and Steve Gibson quoted it in his podcast, it was just this whole thing of, there really is nothing new in Windows 11. It's just rounded corners. And Steve Gibson specifically was talking about Microsoft push for TPM has no real basis in anything, and breaks down why. All the features that require TPM in Windows 11 are the same features that work currently in Windows 10 without it. So they're making requirements to force you into doing stuff, but not really. Paul Thurrott. Yeah, not Tom Thurrott, Paul Thurrott. Paul Thurrott's actually really cool in person. I got to meet him too when I was at Microsoft, and he shared stories that I wish I could share publicly. He is a longtime insider at Microsoft, and the value of that trip I took in 2017 when I was doing some interviews for a Sunday Morning Linux Review podcast with the people. One, I got to meet incredible people. I got to meet Paul Thurrott. It was the after hours party talk stuff where I learned some of the real workings of things that go on at Microsoft, so to speak, the off script stuff. Had a lot of fun. I do want to recurate my podcast from them. Podcast episode 256, how Microsoft got Git. That podcast still exists. It's still downloadable. So I was able, in that particular podcast, the person, when Microsoft does an interview, they have like a handler that makes everything so you're not saying things, like doesn't let the employees tell us things that can't be told. The handler left. And the guys are like, would you like to know the story behind how Microsoft got Git and how Git started becoming sort of our, and they broke down all the inside stuff. And they were like, they actually said at the beginning of the podcast, they're like, you know what? We're secure enough in our jobs that Microsoft won't fire us. And so I was like, that's how every good conversation starts. They kind of dove into it. So it's going to be kind of fun. Let's see if my memory's right, because that was in 2017.
The GitHub acquisition?
It was before the GitHub acquisition. It's when they started using Git, but that is the precursor to the GitHub acquisition.
Got it.
Let me see if that podcast is still up and if my memory's still right. I'm a decent index of all the content I've created.
Yeah.
Yep, it is. It's episode 256.
Wow. Called it.
Obviously, I somehow do remember an index things. I recorded it on November 5th, 2017.
Nice.
So I kind of want to recurate that show. I met with Ed Thompson and Woodward Webb. So if you listen to this old episode on SMLR, which I haven't really listened to in a while, it starts out with Martin and Edward talking about them giving out Linux Live CDs. We dive deep into some of the history of those guys. They're pretty brilliant. They're both really funny too. But yeah, he's now, what does he do now? What is he? I don't know where he works. He worked for Microsoft. He was one of the heads of Azure DevOps and things like that. Wow. I mean, these guys had some pretty high up positions at Microsoft, but also were open source. I did get to interview him. He's actually kind of fun. He still does some work there. He wrote some of the stuff for Git. He was managing a huge part of the Windows code base and how they do their production management. These guys were really insightful doing an interview with them. It was really cool. And I've tweeted. They're both on Twitter, and I've tweeted back and forth with them. They're still fun to chat with. Good people. That was actually the other thing about going to Microsoft was going to the belly of the beast, being a Linux and open source guy. But a lot of these guys genuinely, like when Microsoft hired Miguel, who was the original founder, one of the founders of GNOME and things like that, and then he works for Microsoft and he did his product. I didn't get to interview Miguel, but one of his attitudes when people gave him crap about being like the head of GNOME and then coming to work for Microsoft was like, I'm changing the company from the inside out. The guy is definitely an agent of change. He's brought a lot of change to Microsoft. So are these guys. They're like, why are open source guys working here? He goes, we brought this change here. We changed the way Microsoft works. We changed the way the dynamics of the company. Cool. We did it from within. You're not going to do it from sitting on a podcast or a YouTube channel complaining about it. Turns out they're right. I'm wrong. I was complaining about it for years. It turns out Microsoft didn't care. Well, they cared enough that when they brought us out to Microsoft as a guy who complains about things. When they called us, they literally emailed at the time, I think it was Tony at smlr.us, which is was public on our website. They went to the website for Sunday Morning Linux Review, hit the contact us button, and Microsoft literally contacted us. We're still on there. We're not really active anymore, but it's still public, so I see it in there. This still goes to a voicemail box. It only ever went to voicemail, but we literally were emailed by Microsoft on this silly little website, and they said, we'd like to fly you out.
That's awesome.
All expenses, all of you, and interview people over at Microsoft. And we're like, what? We're the Sunday mornings interview. We mostly pick on you guys. Like, we thought it was a joke. When we seen the email come from at Microsoft. Yeah. We replied, and when they replied back, we're like, this isn't spoofed. So
that's awesome.
It was kind of funny. Let's see. Let's do the Twit cruise. Oh yeah, the Twit cruise. That's funny. Any plans for hosting the Omada controller from TP-Link?
I can officially say that we won't do it.
Yeah. I don't think TP-Link's product commitment is is there. You know what I mean? TP-Link is that, remember I said your business plan shouldn't be just to do the same thing but cheaper? I really feel TP-Link's business plan is just to do the same thing but cheaper.
Yep.
But where their commitment
Missed opportunity.
lies,
Big missed opportunity.
yeah, they don't seem to have the commitment. They, instead of doing cheaper, why not do better?
Yeah. They even copied the bad stuff.
They copied the bad stuff.
Why?
That's my review of it.
Yeah. They copied the bad stuff.
Outside of being less expensive than UniFi, it didn't offer anything that was so compelling that I think you should switch. I think for home users it's cheaper, but home users are also not the people.
Not the customers I want.
Right.
So I studied this pretty closely. I even had keyword setups to alert me to read about what people were saying about it on Reddit and stuff like that. Because as soon as I saw Amada come out with this, I was very interested in obviously diversifying the HostiFi platform and all that. But yeah, I just, like Tom said, is what I was seeing out there wasn't, hey, I just deployed 500 of these for this big business, or even 10 of these for a small business. It was more like, I just installed this at my home. It's pretty cool. But like, that's all I saw was people installing it at home. I never came across a Reddit thread where someone talked about installing it at a business or an MSP talking about it. So I just decided it's not a business use case for it yet. And now it's different though. I've made a decision to just stick in the Ubiquiti space too, because I was thinking about getting into hosting Zabbix or like other open source products and providing the same level of like support and updates and stuff. But yeah, that was another recent decision, is that HostiFi is going to stay just a Ubiquiti player and go after more of the Ubiquiti market, maybe in different ways. We might build new applications or new services, but we're not going to get into Amada or adjacent stuff. So
yeah, keeping your focus is
really important.
It's probably where some companies have lost substantial money, and probably UniFi, if we understood. Yeah,
Classic example.
It's funny. What was that camera thing they tried to do? Do you remember that
one?
Oh, I know, the one that was you wore on your chest. Front row.
Yeah.
So they've had these weird side quests that they went into, and when
consumer land, a lot of consumer land stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those. They keep coming back to. They know where their core product is. They know what makes them the money on that. So that's where they can do it. And I get trying new things, but you also do have to be careful not to get too excited about this. There's if you're looking for personal development, one of the huge things I do is recommend like the Jordan Harbinger podcast. That guy I've been following Jordan Harbinger for a long time, but he talks a lot about this. He interviews a lot of very successful entrepreneurs, and he talks about a lot of the mistakes they made. And it's kind of like, I love learning from other people's mistakes. It's so much better than learning from my mistakes. And one of the things he talks about frequently, and this is across many entrepreneurs, is the mistake that once you're good at something, you'll automatically be great at something else.
Yeah.
For many of you in this audience, probably do technical support. How many doctors think they're computer people? Turns out they're not. The best doctors know they're not. The mediocre doctors think they are. And this is just a problem. So it's careful. It's careful planning, careful decision to stay focused on things. And it's kind of important because you can lose that thing that lets Reilly kind of enjoy life right now and build a nice new garage and order a Tesla.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, wandering down, like the reason he's so Ghostify, wandering.
I cut out all that stuff to focus on HostiFi.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's see. Hey, Reilly, I see you mentoring many others on Twitter. Can you list some of the companies you look up to? Yeah, you've talked a lot about SaaS. You have like a SaaS friends list now on Twitter.
Yeah. I was really inspired by one person in particular whose name is Tyler Tringus, and he wrote a book about a small company that he built on the internet called Store Mapper. And basically, his story inspired me to build HostiFi, and he wrote an ebook about how he built this little business called Store Mapper and eventually sold it. Yeah, this guy here. And so Store Mapper was a company that I looked up to. He had already sold it by the time I came across the story and everything. But now he's an investor in my company, and definitely a company I look up to, his fund. But there's a lot of companies that I follow on Twitter. Just look at my followers. I only have 100 followers, but those are all people that I look up to. And some great examples there of other companies that are also transparent and helping other people.
Yeah, me and Ray have had some conversation about this because it's one of those things too. When you get in different positions, you kind of look at what can I invest in, what can I build in this, and it's just once again when you have a circle of entrepreneurs, these are some of the conversations that are constantly being had. You're trying to think of effective ways. Even for me, like Reilly said, it's too bad I don't have a SaaS company because I have the opposite problem a SaaS company has. I have audience. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm not that smart of a business person actually. I have curated this big people and a great following. I love all of you. And that's, I'm trying to just monetize your existence, so to speak. I'm not Facebook. But there is a side of me that says, all right, what would you like? What could I provide services for? I mean, we provide consulting services for a fee. That's part of my business model. We're very upfront about. We give full in-depth tutorials. By the way, you can hire us for that tutorial, and I say that in every video. I'm not in any way not transparent about it, but you still think about how do you build something that doesn't require that, like how I can just sell service. Like you can sign up and spin up a server, and
Your product is what you're looking for.
yeah, the product you're looking for. I like when Steve Gibson, I think he still has his stuff in the background. You'll hear it in his podcast. It does something like Yabba Dabba Doo. He has it tied to whenever someone buys one of his products. It's
nice.
automated. it makes a ding noise and a light goes off in the background. He just has it in his office. And I think that's actually really cool. He's not someone selling thousands of things at a time, but whenever someone buys something, you get a notice. And that's actually kind of cool, like because you're selling an online product, but if a bell goes off, hey, cool, we sold another thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Reilly have that in his new office, have a little display that someone else signed up for HostiFi. A new server has been spun up. Cash register went ching.
Yeah.
Dentists didn't seem to know a lot about computers. That's true too. Dentists, lots of people who, lawyers. Oh, some lawyers can be,
Cheapest.
they can be very not great clients. So, yeah, it's definitely a.
I don't want to stereotype too much, but
Yeah, there's definitely a few of them. We have some law clients we really like, and we had. I don't think they're watching, so I'll say it. I'm not gonna say their name, but I'll say what they asked. This is the kind of lawyer asked. Hey, we don't like paying these licenses to Microsoft. Can't we just sign up with these home user versions that give us 5, and then we'll load on 5 computers, and then we'll create a whole series of email addresses so each grouping of 5 lawyers can get it. I'm like,
how much do you make an hour again?
Did I look on your website and see your bill will reach $400 an hour?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're trying to get out of
this?
paying. You're a law firm big enough that you need to have multiple. Like, no, you can't. I don't know who told. I know you looked at the pricing. Go, I don't want to give Microsoft X dollars per month for my Office 365. I just want to use home user licenses, even though. If anyone understands terms and conditions and licenses agreements, it might be you guys.
So confused.
And then you go, I know it says for home use, but some of my employees work from home. Great, now you're justifying it. And trying to negotiate with lawyers, good luck. They have prepared arguments. And they like to argue. It's what they do for a living. So, yeah, it can be fun. And it's not all lawyers. It's the thing, for as many customers as we have, there's so few of them I can have stories about. For as many wiring jobs you did, things like that. But they're the ones where it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's great. I went out. They said, "Hey, can you do a thing?" We went out and did the thing. We got paid.
Nice.
There's nothing memorable about that. You know what is memorable? That wiring job I talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we waste so much cable. Or the law firm that literally today decided to ask that question. The other law firms that aren't asking that question, that just pay their bill every month. I mean, they're less. I like them. Don't get me wrong. Not memorable doesn't mean I don't like them.
Yeah.
They're just not the ones I'm going to rant about. But literally going back and forth with someone for a few minutes on the phone going, no, why? No, you can't just buy home user licenses for everything. What do you mean someone told you could do this? Where did you find this? Who said this is legal? Did you read these? Do I work with? We work with a lot of IT companies. IT companies are our favorite customers for both of us right here. We both we have a lot of MSPs we work with that contract out for wireless design. We got a handful of companies in other states. We helped. It was really, it makes me really happy. We had this company build it. They were an IT company down south, and they were working on putting Wi-Fi in for a marina. We did some of the planning and project and picking out and mapping for it. They did the physical install.
Perfect.
They said it worked out great. We have worked with a lot of internal IT teams, not MSP necessarily, managed service providers, but internal IT teams at companies that go, Ubiquity looks cool, but I don't know if I want to set it up from the ground up. can you help? So we spec'd out, set up, and turned the keys over to them at the end, which in the end, turning the keys over was a HostiFi account. So there's a lot of that. That's where that's where a lot of our consulting comes from, is more so that than the end users. Locally, we are a standard, traditional managed service provider with clients that we directly interact with. And we do have clients out of states that we interact with. And we like those people. We don't have a problem with it. But I don't have a big help desk. So if someone comes at me with, I want 24/7 quick response on help desk. We just referred a potential 700-seat client that wanted really fast help desk support to my friend's company. I'm like, he's an MSP in this area, overlapping, if you will, with me in terms of services we offer, but he has a way bigger help desk than me, and it's something he's done a good job of curating. It's not something I want to do a good job, so I don't have enough internal people to offer the level of support and the hours they wanted. He has overlapping shifts, so we referred back to him. And the reverse is he now sent a big job to us that he didn't want to do for a bunch of wiring cleanup that we're doing. That's, cool. We gave him this, what seems like lost potential, and people going, Tom, aren't you the smart entrepreneur that says yes and figures it out and hires more people? No, at some point you say no and move on, but we reciprocate because he's happy. He got a lead. He trusts us. We become friends. He's also flipped jobs over to us. Sometimes either where there's no involvement for him, he's like, this isn't what I do. This guy does it. We have another MSP that wants to just farm out. They inherited some clients with PF Sense. So they said, we just want you to manage the PF Sense side of it when we need help. Nice. How does that work? Can we buy some prepaid hours? No problem. That way they don't have to do a rip and replace because it wasn't in the client's budget. They can maintain. And hey, we're winning them over as they learn PF Sense. You go, hey, this ain't so bad. We didn't know what it was. We know you seem to know what it is, but it isn't too hard to add manage. So
more stuff in the future.
Yep, more stuff in the future. So Benjamin C., thank you for the donation. Am I unique in thinking that UB&T should focus on making proper firewalls, improving your network kit rather than access control and UID? That's like every conversation about what UniFi should be doing or Ubiquiti should be doing. So you're not at all. And this roll back to a conversation where it's hard to tell someone making a lot of money. If you didn't see in the news,
Ubiquiti's doing quite well right now.
Ubiquiti's not just doing well. There was an article about the CEO buying a collection of exclusive houses.
Oh yeah, I did read that.
Exclusive houses.
He's a little busy at the moment, all right?
He has this New York apartment that's absolutely brilliant. I forget, was it like $20 million he paid for it or something like that? So tell a guy that's buying, collecting houses, he shouldn't be playing with door access. I agree with you. I don't think you're going to be able to convince Rob of that, though. He thinks he's doing great. We can look at it from the outside and go, you're making some dumb products, your firewalls suck. And Rob goes, the view at my New York penthouse tells me you're wrong. That's unfortunately some of the back and forth that goes on there. And at some point, if I had that view in the New York penthouse, I'd probably tell me I was wrong too. He also owns a sports team and a few other things that I don't own.
He's a busy guy.
He's a busy guy.
Routers aren't the top of his list.
Yeah.
He wakes up
making better routers. No, I mean, you're not the only one, Ben. We all think that. But until someone convinces Rob of this, he's going to keep buying wonderful.
Robert, if you're listening, call me.
Call me. I got some. What was the most challenging thing founding and running a startup? Probably knowing what to do. There's, I don't know. What do you think?
For me?
Yeah, I think it's for you.
I think it was definitely my first hire and learning how to systemize and create processes. And I think it's the most important and the most valuable skill that I learned in my business so far is learning how to delegate and how to be okay with like removing yourself and like giving up that control, but then also knowing like how to not just make the expect them to figure it out, but actually creating real systems and processes. So every time this happens, here's the guide step by step on how to do it. I think that was the hardest and thing that I think was the best thing that I learned so far was learning how to do that.
Yeah, it's it's always hard. Oh, hey Reilly, you've been transparent about getting here. Do you have your exit planned?
No. So like I recently, so to be honest, I don't think I've really talked about this. publicly before.
I didn't ask you about it all in the video.
Yeah.
You gotta redo the video. I should ask this question.
Yeah, it's something that, like, as I got to this 1 million marker, it was something that I went through where I really had to figure out like a new purpose, like a new vision, because I never really thought about getting to 1 million. That's been my goal for the last 2 years, and now that I got to 1 million, it's like, well, what do I do now? And one of my heroes, Tyler Tringus, I was talking about earlier, he sold his business once it got to about 500,000 in revenue. So like my whole roadmap and vision just like ran out. Like I didn't know what to do next. So I actually went and talked to a couple of CEO coaches. So I actually paid people to, it's kind of like a therapist. It sounds so corny, but it was really helpful. I talked to a few people that kind of helped me talk through the pros and cons of selling the business or continuing to run it. And at the end of the day, I really decided I want to continue to run it and set a new goal. So I had to have a new goal so I can have something to work backwards from. I think it's important to have goals. I want to get to $10 million in recurring revenue in the next 3 years. And so yeah, I started just focusing on that and just kind of get the idea of selling it out of my mind, just keep going. So
yeah, I couldn't help it. I put that on the background. Like, I didn't think I get this far. Like, that is
the evil plot.
The evil plot. I don't know how I got here, but I didn't think I get this far. This is
yeah, it's great.
One of the things. So in 2015, I actually went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. It's the only formal business training I have. I don't have a college degree or anything like that. But it was really cool. One of the it's like I think there's 7 modules in there, and they break down each part of a business and teach you a lot. It's a really cool program. I actually will mention, before we leave, I'll get you some information. You qualify for it. It's a free training offered by Goldman Sachs. I'm a big advocate of it. Goldman Sachs, long story short, you might have heard of them. You might have heard some negative things about them, which were correct. But their community give back was offering all these small business training programs. When I went through it, though, the first module is interesting because day one, you're like, oh, they talk about you have to have an existing business to go there. So it's how to train entrepreneurs to be better. They have to have existing business, have to meet certain goals. But what's amazing about it was the first module is called Exit Plan, essentially, right? What do you mean? How you're going to sell your business? And no, you can't skip this module. And it's a really deep thought with a lot of entrepreneurs about that. And it's kind of interesting because it made me think differently, because I also barely have an exit plan now. I did kind of draw some stuff up a little bit. If you think about an exit plan, matter of fact, if you think about an exit plan, this is something they tell you should be thinking about from the day you start it. It gives you the goal of where you want to be, because eventually you have to set this up, and it makes you structure it a little bit differently. So yeah, that's definitely a hey, raising it. Cohort 15, cohort 6 here, man. It's like a cult. Once you're in it, you'll understand it. Yeah.
Not familiar with this.
Yeah, this is part of the Goldman Sachs thing. Cohort 15 is his life. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I've been in a video about it because I've come back. I will sponsor you on it. So yes.
Oh, you're gonna sponsor me, so it's definitely secret society.
Definitely secret society stuff. We'll put
cool.
Yeah, cool. I know all the people involved in it. It's taught here in Detroit, but
all business exit, though. All businesses eventually exit, right?
Yeah, all business exit.
One way or another.
Yeah, one way or another.
Yeah.
Hopefully on good terms and with you with the money in your pocket. But the Goldman Sachs program is really cool. Me and Reilly talked about it offline, but it's very public. You can find about it if you type in 10,000 small businesses. But they do a lot of training on there. Back to that topic, they make you go through an exit plan. They walk you through a lot of business strategy. There's 2 things. One, like the excitement when I said cohort 6 over here, and he said cohort 15. One of the cool things is they put you in a room with 30 other addicted, obsessive entrepreneurs. Go into class so you can meet them all, and then the conversations we have, because the class just kind of becomes this glue, and then we wander around sometimes to the bar, or till the teacher goes, you guys have to leave. Like, the conversation looks great, you gotta leave. Like, go hang out down the street or something, because you end up all these fun conversations. And then they have some nationwide, they've done a couple annual large meetings of all the people that went through the training program. It's really cool. But exit strategies are really important, so yes. So there must be a Tesla in that goal. Yeah. I think the Tesla's coming sooner than later.
Yeah, I don't need to exit to get a Tesla.
No, you don't got to exit to get a Tesla.
No.
Yep. That's
but there's nothing I'd rather be doing. I think that's a big part of it. Is a lot of times the reason people sell a business because there's something they would rather be doing instead.
Yeah, if you find yourself, I gotta admit, I faced a pretty high level of burnout over the years. This is why I'm in content creation now, and why I don't functionally like want to run it anymore. I my interest level, I was really interested. It got bigger. I was excited after I left the Goldman Sachs class and came out with a lot of fresh perspectives on things. I grew the business quite a bit from the Goldman Sachs time to now is a lot more people and a whole lot different business model. We did a lot of things different from 2015 till like 2018. It included dropping the retail. Our profitability, our margins, way up. We make more money than we ever have. All things work well. I pay myself more. I have more time and more free time. But there came a point when I said, I built it, now what? And it kind of said, I like content. And I started creating a lot more content. And over the last couple of years, which leading to Brett being put in as VP, it was either sell a company, and this is why I said that in that video of do I sell it, or option B, which was Brett kind of play on words. But this is a real thing. Like I entertained and looked at offers. Do I, looking at what my exit is, you sell this and what challenges are around that. So this, and I decided on what I'm doing now, creating content, but also owning the business. Best of both worlds. Like Reilly said, you stay relevant because I'm on the other side of this wall are actual projects being deployed. So my review of something isn't just a review of, hey, look at this thing. It's actually, this is the thing. Here's how we strategize with it. Here's how we deployed it. Here's how we integrated it into the company's processes. And now I can speak to it. Like when I talked earlier about having 316 UniFi devices deployed and one went bad, that's because we're still actively engaged with that client that we physically installed 300 something UniFi access points on, so I can follow up. And I actually installed 300 something access points at a single location to speak of. We installed more at other places, but it's like that job I was allowed to talk about to an extent. Customer gave me permission, did a whole video on it.
It's a huge part of what makes your channel unique, because so many other channels, they plug it in, they show you how it works, but then you don't know, like in a big deployment or over a period of time. And
it's why I don't do a bunch of speed tests on like the UniFi.
The real world doesn't matter, right?
The real world doesn't care. The client doesn't go, oh my gosh, am I choosing between option A or B? Which one's the fastest?
That's the other thing. You always bring the business like logic to it.
Yeah, the business logic is
which is very different from the tech.
I care about connectivity is what always comes up in business. They care about solid connection. For example, we did a series of warehouses and we did some videos on them. The number one absolute priority, it had nothing to do with speed. They send kilobits, not even megabytes, kilobits of data.
Talking about barcode scanners.
Barcode scanners. So they only care about connectivity.
2.4 gigahertz.
Yeah, I could go in there singing and dancing about 5 gigahertz and singing and dancing of the speed test.
Wi-Fi 6.
And they go, I don't care. Will this scan gun stay connected when the guy drives down the aisle and scans a box? Because you have a bunch of employees that their job is to scan. And if the thing goes beep and doesn't scan, they go, speed, doesn't scan. Stupid thing, mad employee, box doesn't get filled, business process gets disrupted. Connectivity means more than bandwidth. You can watch Netflix on 2.4 gigahertz. You can watch 4K Netflix on 2.4 gigahertz. Turns out they're not even watching Netflix at these buildings. They care about a few kilobits of data. So this is the business side versus the number of people that complained that I didn't do enough speed testing when I talk about a UniFi product. Really?
Right.
That's usually reliability, connectivity, because it goes hand in hand of if it's not reliable, it doesn't stay connected. So those are the more important aspects in what I focus on when I do the reviews. And I like the long-term follow-up reviews. I'm actually going to cut this off at, holy crap, it's 6 o'clock. 6:15. You guys got 10 minutes rapid fire questions. Because at some point, I have to get my son a pizza. I can't believe my son hasn't joined in here to say pizza, but at least I got one text that says, hey, Dad, bring me a pizza. So I do have to feed my son. Just get the Tesla bot to run the business. Yeah.
Yeah, the Tesla bot, that's right.
After 10 years of running a business, I figured I need to focus on hiring roles I didn't want to do, so I'd spend more time doing what I want to do. That's Ray.
Great.
Yeah. I got to get Ray. Ray, reach out to me on the usual communication method. We should talk and just bring you on my channel, and let's just riff about things like this. Or if you feel like Ray's in Florida, if you feel like coming up here to Detroit.
Yeah.
So, where's the HostiFi swag?
Oh, man. Yeah, so we actually, it's been on my to-do list. I've been so busy. I don't even have a HostiFi shirt for my own guys yet. It's been on my to-do list.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? We're so wondering what would what would you self-host and what would you offload to the cloud? That's a case-by-case basis what you self-host. Me and Jay started doing the Home Lab Show podcast, and we break that down. We were like 24, 25 episodes in now of all the things that we would or wouldn't host places. It's on a case-by-case basis. My forums, by the way, if you want to have a more my DMs are open on Twitter, but if people have questions like, what switch should I buy? Should I host this here? Should I host this there? Should I host it myself? My forums is really a great place for that. And before you post the questions, search my forums and you'll find you probably weren't the first person to ask it. And if you were, great, post. If you weren't, you'll probably find an active, engaging discussion on some of these topics I've talked about it, like what DNS service to use. I have a really popular, it's one of the most popular posts on there right now, is still my DNS discussion, which, by the way, DNS Filter took the time, their staff signed up for my forums, did all the replies. The guy who runs Quad 9, their engineers signed up at Quad 9 and engaged with my audience on there. And there's now a really good write-up on how DNS filtering works, how I was wrong on some things, which I engaged with them, and they were right. I was wrong. But the discussion is the learning of the gray areas in between of how DNS filtering works. And it's a great discussion. So that's why I like things in the forums like that, because now everyone who wants to know about DNS filtering, that is still, when people search for it, because I see the hits going to the site, that's a still popular. I think probably in my forum, can I show my landing page popularity on this? I can't remember where it has that in the reporting. I'm not great at reporting on it. Somewhere in here, the top. Oh, and let's go for all time. So you guys can see my stats. 24,000 views and 93 replies just to talk about DNS compared. So for people that want to ask questions about it, there's 24,000 hits. The next thing is RAID Z performance. Constant question. You have a bunch of hard drives. How are you going to set them up? Yes, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different options. 17,000 views on this particular post, and kind of goes down from there. Setting up Xboxes with pfSense. Turns out, popular topic, 13,000. Yeah, and these topics,
all the Xboxes out there running pfSense.
Yeah, these are recent things I covered on videos that not that long ago, all the way up to, this is only in July where this was being discussed, and there's still that many views on it because they're recent topics, and it'll only continue to grow. So that's one of the reasons I like the forums, because it's the one-to-many problem you're trying to solve, whether you're providing SaaS. You got to try to figure out how to automate things, or one-to-many. I make videos. I want many people to watch them. Would I love to be able to train one-on-one? Sure, but it's not feasible. This is
scalable.
It's not scalable. I love thinking about things are scalable. So how do I teach people at scale? I put it on YouTube. How do I share concepts or have discussions at scale so other people could find it? I maintain the forums. It's been kind of how I think about some of those things to try to get the word out there and knowledge out there and teach people. So, hey, cool. Glad you love the self-hosted podcast. Awesome. If I make a trip from Chicago, can we grab a coffee? Sure. Big B's is right down the street. Bash the like button, please do. Helps the YouTube algorithm know where I should be. Rebadge some of the Ubiquity stuff. I'm assuming you're really related to swag. Just take the Ubiquity shirts and stick HostiFi on it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that won't cause any problems at all. Ubiquity does have a legal team. If you didn't know, Reilly knows. That's all we'll say. Top 2 mesh network solutions you recommend? Mesh network or overlay networks. I've done videos on zero tier. I've done video on zero tier, Nebula, and on Tailscale. So I like all of them. Nebula is different target audience, more DevOps. Tailscale and zero tier are easy to use, easy to deploy. You're up and running in minutes. They also have free tiers, and it works out for them, I guess. Well, except for the same conversation we had about you offering a free tier. Tailscale, if I'm not mistaken, when I watched an earlier video about them, looking up reviews, they cut a lot of what they offer on their free tier. They used to offer a lot of nodes. They offer a lot fewer nodes now. They still have a free tier, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I do not host my website on-prem. Ray likes Tailscale. Tailscale is a really cool product. They do a nice job. They're also well funded. If you dig into Tailscale like I didn't cover this in the video, but when I see a company that did something really, really well, I go, wow, how'd they put this together?
Yeah, a lot of money.
Not their first startup.
Yeah.
They come from Google. They come from a pretty high on place. So there are a few people that left some pretty prominent positions. So they're not new to the game. And also
Nice.
It was a well-funded project, and also really talented people who didn't come out of a college room and jump right in this. They're experienced at doing. They're pretty young, but they're still really experienced at building that product. So
Look into that one. It's cool.
yeah, Tailscale is just a neat idea. I tell you what, the cool thing about Tailscale is I could do an entire video about one blog post they did on NAT. They have the most definitive NAT guide I have ever seen. It is a network engineering deep dive into all things NAT. And they did it because they solved so many problems.
Yeah, it's
so
core
they
to the
blogged
solution.
about it in depth of how NAT works, how NAT traversal can do things.
Yep.
Wild. Like, these guys really put some work into it. So it's really, they have a grasp of it. And by reading it, I was like, I thought I knew NAT. These guys know NAT. So but, even with that write-up, though, I actually know Ryan Huber, who did Nebula. He's like, yeah, I seen what they did to solve NAT. I'm not doing that. Like, that's
Next level, huh?
yeah, he said that's really hard, and it's also not. It's something more of the home users want. The way they solve double NAT looping problems.
Oh, okay.
He goes, it's not something that his customers are asking for. It's something the end user market is asking for more. But there's other companies that have solved it. There's actually a company called, not a company, there's a project called Headscale, which is an open, so Tailscale is open source on the end node, but the back end is a SaaS model that you don't get to access. You don't get to host Tailscale yourself. They handle it. So someone made Headscale, which leverages the clients but manages it yourself in a self-hosted. I have not used it. I just aware that it exists.
It's a funny name.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this blog post right here, I'm going to share. So this is just one blog post they did on August 21st, 2020.
Wow.
It is huge. By the way, one of the neat things about this, these are all vector graphics. So if you try to they did all of this in very intricate detail when they put, some of them are vector graphics on it at scale. I was noticing some of the little details about how their blog posts are written, but they cover every little NAT traversal problem they solve with home routers, corporate routers. They have one here on CGNAT. They break down negotiating numerous NATs when there's right here. This is the cool one they solved on the CGNAT. So instead of going out to the internet, let's say both of you are on the same WISP, and the WISP is offering CGNAT. Tailscale will create hole punching between nodes internally. So the carrier grade NAT becomes let's say the carrier grade NAT has a restriction that says you can only get this much bandwidth. If your friend is also using carrier grade NAT and he's on the same WISP as you, you can actually have Tailscale talking, not going out to the greater internet. So they break down exactly how they pulled this off, which GeoTier does something very similar, but this is actually a really tricky problem to solve. It's not impossible. It just takes a lot of strong network engineering to be able to say, I want this laptop to talk to this laptop between two home routers. And when they say home router, they talk about, and they make a whole bunch of references to what a home router, how it is, and this is the write-up of how they accomplish that. Like, it's open source in terms of the products, so you can look at their engineering behind it too. I was
that stuff.
This is just one blog post, by the way. They have a lot of blog posts that are very technical. New pricing. Yeah, this is where they did this recently to change their pricing model to change things around. So there's a lot going on in here. NAS 101, how to do network attached storage. Once again, some details in here. Looks like it's a transcript from another one. Either way, impressive from a marketing standpoint. They took the time to do this because, boy, that's time consuming to write up. Getting engineers to do it, that's hard. Getting someone to turn it into English and then write a blog post that long turns out really hard. Boy. Am I going to review the Microstick 40G switch? I doubt it. I might review one of their SFP28 switches because I have so much. I'm starting to gather SFP28 stuff here. So more likely that. got to do some homework. See you later, Ray. We're jumping off here too. We already went past 1 minute. Quad natting, yeah, quad nat. That's even worse. We've dealt with a lot of double nat, triple nat, weird networks. We had to find nat routers in walls of places that we took over. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. We're like, hold on, the wire seems to run from this part of the building to this part of the building, but they have a completely different IP address set. And there's no, it seems to be one wire. Turns out it's not. Someone stuck a router on a ceiling. So that was weird. Let's see. So I think we have all the questions answered. Have Dreamcatcher VM image? Here's a question. CloudKey, I don't understand what VM image. You download, there's no VM image you download. You download it from...
For UniFi?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a...
It's just you download it. They don't offer VM images. They just offer the stuff, so... I think that's it. I'm done answering questions. I gotta go get a pizza for my son. Reilly at some point's got to go back home. We could probably hang out forever, but at some point we all have stuff to do. So, Thank you all for joining us. At one point we had, what did we peak at? Somewhere around 150 nice. People. Awesome. Thank you for everyone who is here. Thank you for this really extended edition of where we answered lots of questions. If you want to reach out to Reilly, he's easy to find on Twitter. I'm easy to find on Twitter. Post in my forums. Sign up for HostiFi. Offer code down below if you want hosting for UniFi. And awesome. Thanks everyone for joining. I think that's it.
Thanks.